And thank you again for joining me here on this video of this project E350 PowerStroke rebuild. I didn't really get much done because I had a migraine on Saturday, and Sunday I had so much other stuff I had to get to. Anyway, what I have done is taken the bolts out of the oil cooler to drain out the water mostly, and I've also unbolted the bolts that for the battery ground wire. You'll need a 13mm and an 8 or a 3/4 millimeter socket to get the nut and 2 bolts out of there. I also went ahead and took the bolt out of the crank pulley. And what else I've tried to do is I was going to do is unbolt this cab and pull it up. Well, I'm pretty sure that this bolt here is spinning on the back end and not being loosened at all. I used the impact on it a good bit yesterday. Not only that, that socket is getting stuck on there too. So anyway, yesterday I went over to Harbor Freight and bought this brand new Central Pneumatic Earthquake 700 foot-pound of torque wrench to replace a brand new Craftsman I'd bought. That's a piece of junk right out of the box. He wouldn't dream of turning this. So I'm pretty sure that bolt's not coming off. That's just spinning on the other side. So that's really not productive. So probably what I want to do to clear that oil pan there is, I've read other people just drop the oil pan out and go on and pull it out that way, and then set the new oil pan in there and assemble the new oil pan with it in the truck. So looks like that's what I'm going to be doing, because I'm not going to sit here and fight with these stupid bolts just to pick this cab up. It's going to take too much time. Okay, so I'm not able to use the proper tool down there and get the fuel line off. You can see the red one on there. I also tried the blue one, but these quick disconnects, they just simply would not come off. So I'm not going to sit here and fight with this garbage at all. No, I'm just going to go ahead and, since I'm going to take the oil cooler off before I pull the engine out, I'll just go ahead and unhook the fuel lines from up here at the fuel bowl and all, and that's how we'll get around that. Okay, so as you can see, I got both these fuel lines disconnected from the fuel bowl, and if you look down here, you see it goes down between the engine and the oil cooler. Well, I already got the first 2 bolts out of the oil cooler, like I said earlier, and I'm going to take the other 3 out of the back of the thing and just remove it, and the fuel lines will just stay there in the frame. I got to get the spin-on oil filter off before I do that, and then that just leaves me with mostly getting the exhaust off and getting the transmission disconnected from the engine, and then it's going to be ready to pull out here in just a little bit. My air wrench on socket you can't see, and then there's 2 other bolts. I'm not sure if you can see them or not, but they're 10mm. I had a time trying to get the oil filler off and still haven't, so I'll just wait till I get it out from under here and then I'll try and get it off. So you want to make sure you have a drip pan because there wasn't really that much in it, and it's more than half full now, so that's how much oil you could wind up getting out of there. And I think this is a 7-quart pan. So you know, 3.5, 4 quarts of oil. Nearly a gallon of oil could come out of this. So as you can probably see right there, you can see water coming out. It's not with the oil, but that's because water and oil both go through that tube there, and that's your oil cooler. And that's how easy it is to take off. There's just 5 bolts, and then also you have to undo this clip here. That this is for your block heater wire that you plug into your house, and it's plugged right up into that. Now on this thing there's 3 bolts, like I said. These 2 are the same size, and this one is way longer. The longer bolt goes on the bottom. Now you should have already had the filter taken off. Like I said, I couldn't get it off, so you need to just pull your oil cooler on out. Be ready for our gunk to come out. Okay, so the next thing we got here on our agenda is to remove the transmission, or rather just unbolt the torque converter. Now, I've already started with the inspection cover here, and these are 10mm bolts, and you'll find 2 here that run alongside the bell housing. One right there, and I can't remember if there's, I think it's just one more, but you have to get the starter out to get to it. So I've just got 2 more to get the inspection plate out, and then there's 6 bolts on the flywheel or torque converter to remove that. And after that, we got to go around and get all these 10mm bolts out for the oil pan so we can drop the oil pan. So okay, so here's a view of the starter. Depending on the depending on the model of your vehicle, you may or may not have a ground wire connected here to the starter. I've actually not seen this on the pickups, but it's here on the van. And you'll need a 15mm socket to get the 3 bolts out of the starter. There's one at the top that's hard to see, and you can see the other 2 right here. Yeah, it's kind of difficult for me to get a camera angle on this, so I'm not going to video me taking the starter out, but just take it out and pull it down. No need to unhook the power wire or anything like that. The part that I like about working on a van, something with the doghouse in it, is you just do this right here. To get the transmission bolts out, you need a 19mm socket. No. And it's real easy if you got an air gun. And there's 6 of these bolts. There's another 2 there. And 1 below that one. And then 1 below this one on that underneath that tab. And now also we're going to take just a second here on the transmission. There's different size bolts depending on which holes you're talking about on the thing. So if you notice the longer bolts, they'll go here. And at the top of the transmission, don't make this mistake, the small bolts go in up here at the top. If you put in too big of a bolt and try and drive that in there, you risk cracking the block. So don't do that. This tube right here is your tranny dipstick tube, and it looks like actually this guy's is broken. I noticed it was awful loose up there in front, but now I see why. And some of these bolts are difficult to fool with. And then that just leaves us with 2 more holding the thing in. Taking the bolts out of the torque converter to make it easier on me to turn this thing over. Since I got the valve cover off, I figure take some glow plugs off to let up on some of the compression when I have to turn this thing. Which, by the way, that glow plug wasn't even connected. Okay, so I'm going to take the transmission torque converter flywheel bolts out. What you're seeing here is, yeah, that's the front of the engine. But the reason I'm taking this angle is, since on this truck I already have the oil cooler removed and there's room, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my impact gun to remove the bolts off the flywheel here. And just move that way a little bit. You can see I've got a socket already on the bolt there. So I'm just going to put my impact gun in there in that nice area I got to do that. And just zip those right on off of there. And I got 3 of the 4 glow plugs on the driver hand side of the block off. So that should help a lot with turning the flywheel and all, I mean. the last one right here. And whoever put these on was stripping them off. I'm surprised that one came out. It's pretty bad. So, okay, now I've got all the torque converter bolts out. I'll bring you around and we'll take out the other two bell housing bolts. Okay, before removing the engine from the transmission, if you're leaving the transmission in the vehicle, use a board, a jack, a strap, do something. The front of the transmission is going to fall down when you pull the engine out. So, that being said, be careful. Like I said, there was 2 more bolts that hold this thing in, and right there's one, and I'm not sure if you can see it over there or not, but anyway, around there somewhere there's another bolt, and I'll get them both. Hard to work this camera and this tool too. Okay, and remember what I said, the small bolts, they go on top, and these long bolts, they go towards the bottom. And there's where the final bolt is, and on this truck the transmission's, and on this truck, the exhaust is a little more in the way than usually on most trucks I work on. But if you didn't have the dog house to open up there at the top to get to those top bolts, that made that a lot easier. Okay, you can just use long extensions with swivels on them, and preferably an impact gun, and you can get those off. But I've done it by hand without an impact gun, and you can do it. It's no big deal. Other people will unbolt the cross member for the tail shaft of the transmission and lower it down, and just use a ratchet right here at the back with a bunch of extensions and a swivel on it. But I've gotten the top bolts from right here with a socket and a swivel or two, so I mean, sorry the camera's having a hard time focusing on the crazy light under here. But I'm going to take that one off. I'm not going to be able to video it with me having to hold the socket or the extension and all. The other thing I wanted to point out was that I had to cut that bolt there off of the inspection cover. Whoever has been fiddling with this truck is a jerk, because they love stripping off bolts and hardware and stuff, and it's kind of ridiculous. The guy also told me he wants he told me at first a 5-inch down pipe, but I can't find a 5-inch down pipe that'll fit his van, so we're going to put a 4-inch one in this, and I'm going to saw these old bolts off here. It looks like it'd just be a real pain to fool with trying to get them off with the impact or something. I'll just grab the Sawzall and chop this right here off and take the exhaust off the end of the turbo. So, and there we go. I've got that bolt out of the transmission, and it's ready to be, the engine's ready to be pulled out after I get this exhaust taken care of. And that'll be pretty easy since I can do it from the inside. We'll take the bolt here off the downpipe, and that's an 11mm. I have a hard time seeing the camera. Since we've already got the 11 on here, we'll just go ahead and take this one off too, off the Y pipe. And you just take a flathead screwdriver around those to remove them. And If they have any other gauges like a pyrometer or water temperature or boost or any of that other type of gauges, you'll also have to be sure to unhook those before you continue taking your engine out of the truck, of course. Okay, so I've went ahead and took all the bolts out for the oil pan. And those are 10mm bolts. And you just take your flathead screwdriver. This thing, you just take your flathead screwdriver here, get the oil pan off. And it's going to be a little difficult to get off because it's glued on there. So, I mean, really, the bolts shouldn't be holding on, the sealant should be. Now, if you're using your pan, you want to be careful not to damage it. I don't care because I don't care about damaging this pan because the owner bought a new one, so. Really depends on what you want to do. But you will want to be extra careful around the front cover because if you break that, you're screwed. So do most of your prime back there on the actual block itself and not on your aluminum front cover. There we go. Okay, so I've been trying to pull this block out, and it's been moderately difficult, but right now I got a problem in the way. It's the turbo. I can't lift this thing up high enough to get the oil pan out from under it so I can pull it out. So right now what I'm doing is taking the turbo out. It's hot and it's kind of difficult to get to, and a good camera angle and all that, so I'm not going to video me doing all of it. I already got the intake Y pipe removed. There, for you all that want to see what the grid heater on the inside of that looks like, there you go. And there's the outlet of his oil-soaked turbo. Anyway, I'm going to pull that bad boy on out of there, and then hopefully we can drag this motor on out of here too. So here we go. I got the turbocharger out of that thing. Look at that. I had to take this out through the doghouse because I guess I had the engine up too high, but I couldn't get it out that way. So here, I've got the engine on the lift. I've tried this a couple of times. It's kind of aggravating trying to get all this stuff out of the way. Like I said, I've never taken an engine out of one of these vans before, so you have to make sure that you got enough pickup on the back of the thing to even try to wiggle it out of there. That's not raised up enough. And then here, if you look, this engine picker is just a little too tall for this thing. So when I try to lift it, you see it winds up just bottoming out on the frame of the van. If you come around to look here, you can see that there's a good amount of space between the engine and the transmission, and what I'm afraid of is I'm going to have to pull the transmission to get the oil pan out of there too in order to pull the engine out. I'm not completely sure about this yet, but that's what I'm afraid of. So I'm going to take the oil pickup tube off of the bottom of the engine, hopefully. Which I realize there's a bracket at the back to hold it, and I'll get that too. Hopefully on my fingers still intact afterwards. I cannot stress enough to everybody how important it is to be careful when working from an engine suspended. The chain could break, anything give up, and ruin your whole day. Go ahead and get these flywheel bolts out to make my life easier. They're an 18mm. Yeah, buddy, are they on there? Oh. I had it going forward. Was worried about that there for a second. Last bolt. There we go for the flywheel. So now we should be ready to just pull this engine the rest of the way on out of here.
Yeah, stay right here. Engine's finally coming.
Make sure these wires up here don't get jerked out with it.
Don't smash your fingers.
Man, I'm telling you what. I got this one more thing stuck there. Let me go pull it off real quick. Let me try to just go ahead and force it out this way. See, it's coming out.
Big old piece, Landon.
Yep. Now I can lift it higher. That part of it out of there. Now it's coming. Look at that.
Big old turtle.
There it is. Don't you ever get underneath this. It could fall and squash you dead.
Especially if you're letting the chains loose.
Well, honey, the chains can break.
I know.
So, I just had my arm stuck under there. Honey, if this stuff would have broke, it would have cut my arm off.
And that's why you said it.
Yeah, I'm not going to leave it sitting up. I'm just telling you. In case you ever see it. Maybe it's sitting on a stand or something. You don't never mess with it. Never. It's dangerous like this.
Even if it looks like, don't do it.
That's right.
And even if there's a toy under it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just there
You just
to
let me
let it
know.
off.
So there we go, guys. Got that PowerStroke right on out of there. Finally. Here we go. Finally got that 7.3 PowerStroke and this little E350 van. It looks like somebody put a riff-raff fuel system on here. I unhooked that fuel line. But there's what the inside the engine bay looks like. Big mess. When I go to put the engine back in, I'm probably going to pull these motor mounts out and install the engine with the mounts attached to it, because I'm not sure how much easier it's going to be to set the engine down on the mounts. But then I did leave a transmission in. I hope that works out real nice and easy, because I've not put an engine back in a vehicle with the transmission out before, so there's another first for me. The guy's valley was pretty nasty. Like I said, I had to take the turbo and the flywheel off to get this off, as well as the oil pickup tube. So let's go ahead and get a sneak peek look at the action underneath this thing. I'll be disassembling this tomorrow and have all of it on video for everyone to see what the condition of this motor really is. And remember, this engine has been ran cross country with no air filter, and the guy didn't bother to put any antifreeze in it neither, and just let it freeze and bust over the winter. Or so he said it's busted, but you know, if you watch my earlier videos, you see oil pouring out where the water's supposed to be, so it's probably right. So anyway, this will be the end of part 3 of this series, and we'll start part 4 with the disassembly of this poor old PowerStroke. And as always, my friends, viewers, and brethren, I do appreciate you for watching my videos, and I hope that you're getting something out of this. And also, I need to stress this, I don't usually say enough about it, but listen, don't make fun of Safety Sally. Listen, accidents happen, okay? Be real cautious, especially when working with this stuff with the lift right here, okay? You don't want this crap to fall on you. So anyway, may the Lord Jesus Christ richly and bless and guide all of you. I hope you have a great day.